Thing number two, we're moving to job reporting. Can we trust the new jobs report, Gary?
All right. Well, you know what, Rob? Let's cut to the end on this. It is a deep knowledge investing mantra that if the question is, can we trust the something report and the something is a government report, the answer is always no, right? If it's a government report and we're saying, can we trust this? Just start with no. No, we can't, right? The numbers, they're lies, they're manipulated, and they're also lies. And in case I hadn't mentioned it, they're lies. So we got a ton of economic data out this week. Let's shoot through it. The ADP payroll number was up by 140,000. That was better than last month's number, but below the 150,000 estimate. So that came in weak. That report did show a 5.1% increase in wages. That's a pretty healthy number. The JOLTS report, that's the report that shows how many jobs are available. That one showed openings of 8.9 million. That was below the estimate of 9.3 million. So that came in weak. And then Friday's job growth number of 275,000 crushed the estimate of 198,000 with an asterisk. We'll get to it. But the unemployment rate, rose from 3.7% to 3.9%. So think that through for a minute. More jobs, but more unemployment. We're going to need to go through this. So my question is this bad or worse? That's where
Uh,
we are on this.
my you actually stole my question from my notes that I had, Gary.
Ah,
Was
sorry.
it's all good. As someone, right, and I'm sure a lot of us out there that are not professional investors or, spend the amount of time as you do in these reports, why should I even care? Why should I even look into these? Sounds like everything that you're saying, they're not to be trusted, right? I guess my question for you would be, what value do you get out of it, right? Or what are the pieces that you're taking out of these reports when you are reading through them diligently, as I know you do?
Yeah. So look, it's a great question. Because even though the data is manipulated, and it's manipulated so badly that these numbers, they all get revised. And so one of the patterns that we see is we get these jobs reports showing tons and tons of new jobs. And everyone says, oh my God, this is fantastic. But then the following month, they revise the prior 2 or 3 months and they always revise them down. And so what we've seen are situations lately where you've had jobs reports that beat expectations, but they revise the prior months down by so much that it's actually a miss, right? So the number that everyone's paying attention to, it looks like a beat. But when you subtract the revisions from the prior months, in terms of actual jobs, it adds up to a huge miss. So the numbers are dishonest. They always get revised down. Um, and so the question is, why do we look at it? And the reason that I look at it, even though I know the results are lies, is because people will trade off of it. The stock market will move off of it. The Federal Reserve does look at this data. Even though the data is wrong, if I know somebody's using bad data to make a decision, then I want to know what that data says. And that's why I look at it. And there are ways to figure out how manipulated this data is. So, one of the other things worth pointing to is, people say, oh, well, we had fewer jobs available. Yeah, but the key point on this is the reason is wage growth wasn't as much as people had hoped. And as a result, and in addition to that, the market is cooling, the wage market is cooling a little bit, the job market is cooling a little bit, fewer people quit. One of the reasons there were fewer jobs to fill is fewer people quit. And people generally quit when there are lots of opportunities, right? They quit when they can get a better job at another company and get paid more. Once you take that out, well, those jobs don't need to be filled, right? Because they're not moving. So sometimes that JOLTS report, it should be a measure of the jobs available in the economy, but in many cases, it's really a measure of how many people are hopping around. So that's a big part of it right there. The companies don't need to replace those workers. These jobs get revised down. The numbers get revised down. So, there are questions about all this. So the other thing that I'd point out, people will say, well, wait a minute, isn't 275,000 new jobs? Isn't that good? Yeah, it is. But let's talk about what's included in that. So full-time employment, is not up. The reason we have stagnant full-time employment, but more people with jobs, there's only one way that happens. You have people taking second and third jobs. It's
Right.
people taking extra part-time jobs. That's not a sign of a great, healthy economy, right? Full-time employment is great. And listen, if you have a part-time job and you go get another part-time job, is that awful? No. But when all of your job growth is part-time growth, that's generally not a sign of a great economy there. And so we're looking at really weaker employment numbers there.
Makes sense.